Hi folks, Dave Schmidt here. Hey, I'm coming to you from another hotel room. I've been on the road for 8 days in a row now. That's just kind of what happens with the life here. We had the Chicago seminar over the weekend, and I want to say thank you to everybody that attended, because it was absolutely wonderful again. And I'm not going to say any more about that. You get the scoop of what's happening. But we still do have some seats available for you on the one coming up June 14th in Southern California. And then I'm going to take a break. I will not be doing any more workshops until this fall. Now, what about tomorrow's radio program? Because I'm coming to you on Tuesday afternoon, June 3rd. I'm going to have Mark Mearsman, Piff, on the air with me again, because a lot has developed in the last week. What you have seen is the reports that China, the gold signator, has pulled out. Now, Mark has a lot more detail on that, and I'd rather just wait and let him explain that to you, because I have to be careful about what I can say, because I got to make sure I'm not broaching some confidential aspects within that. But here's what's important. The most important thing is to not worry. There's a design, I guess, if that's the appropriate term to use, about what's happening here and what's going on. There's nothing to be worried about. Just because they are not in the United States does not mean that things may not happen well for us. Remember when I went back months and I always said that basically those that are responsible, the trustees of the gold, primarily the Dragon family in China, that all the releasing of all this gold is not about just making us rich. It's also about neutering the cabal, and that's the term that I use. Will they still be wealthy? Yes. Will they still have some of the things and do some of the things they can currently do? Yes. But will their power be neutered and will their money be taken from them? Absolutely yes. And that's what this is all about. We were prepared, all of us were prepared for well over a month ago for the RV to actually be culminated, because I've said it's a multiple step process. But those that I call the powers that were have continued to use their influence and their power to try to stop this process. And what happened was last week there was a deadline date. And then when that deadline date came and went, and the powers that were basically did not fulfill their part of the agreement, 5 minutes later, the Chinese signature pulled up and left the country with his gold signature as well. And that's what happened. There is a plan B. Now, it is possible that plan A could still take place. Now, but don't ask me for those details. I am not the one who can bring you all those details, but Mark can. So Mark's going to be on my program again tomorrow night. We're going to talk about why the delay, what has been going on, what is transpiring, and how for you who are a part of this, especially those of you who will be patient and wait for the U.S. Treasury contracts to come into place, everything is going to be fine. And here's also but one thing that I can say. If you're involved in part of the private groups of the China group rates, because remember I said there's two types of private groups. There are the private groups with the U.S. Treasury interface team, and then there are the private groups with the China contract rates. If you're involved with those, that money left as well. Right now, those groups, based on the intel that I am receiving, are all falling apart. But they could possibly come back together. But it's very, very important about what we have to say. Go back and listen to the April 23rd radio program to understand the difference between FRNs and TRNs. That's a huge, huge issue on what's taking place here, folks. And I always say, never, never, ever give your dong or your dinar to anybody until you're in the bank cashing in. And number two, if you're involved in a private group rate exchange, make sure you ask who's paying you, where's the money coming from, who is buying this dinar. Get a clear, concise, accurate answer and ask if they're being paid in U.S. Treasury funds. And if they're not, if I was in your shoes, I'd run as far away as I could of that, and I'd be satisfied and content with the public rate, because some of these private groups are totally falling apart, and you're going to end up either with nothing or a rate that is far less than the public rate. So we can give you more details on this on the radio program tomorrow night. I'll see you then, okay? Thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye.